Access granted.
So now we are entering into the first SAS zone of this map.
The airlocks.
Yeah, the airlocks. Actually, it's something that we had to add later as we were producing the maps to help the streaming.
Yeah, it's. I think also at that point in the game, we weren't mastering our streaming capabilities as well as we were later on in the game. So basically, it's just your common thing that you see in a lot of games. While this door is locked, we're actually loading the entire room that's in the back, and they were big rooms. Those are the huge lab rooms with a lot of like stuff to do and a lot of stuff to interact with. But what's good about them, and this is how they should be done, is they're thematically kind of inserted. It fits. It's you're in a lab, and this thing looks like it's a place that's gonna, how would you say, Mary, decontaminate you? Is that it? Yeah, decontamination, sterilize you, and so like all the streams and whatnot. So I'm sure for maybe not for everybody, but for certain people, they didn't even realize what was going on. They were just like, oh, cool, I'm having this steam shower, and then the door opens.
Yeah, I just remember me fighting it the longer I could. I was resisting it because I hate those things in general because it's very artificial, and we all know that it's just we have to load the other portion of the map. Yeah. But like you said, it turned out.
Yeah, at least when they're well, thematically incorporated that way, it works in a good way.
I agree.
In order to unlock new abilities or augmentations, you must first gain experience in the form of XP points. You will receive these points when completing main objectives, side quests, or through special bonuses, like completing a mission without being detected.
Next time we discuss security loop.
Once you've accumulated enough XP points, you will receive a Praxis point. These points are used to unlock upgrades to existing augmentations, and to unlock entirely new augmentations. Praxis kits, which can be found through exploration or purchased in limb clinics, will also give you instant Praxis points. To unlock an augmentation or upgrade, simply select it in the augmentation screen, check the cost, and, if you have enough Praxis points, activate it. Some of the obstacles that can be circumvented by hacking include turrets, cameras, and robots. All you need to do is find a security hub controlling these obstacles and hack it. Capture and fortify programs are your main hacking tools. You can upgrade their ratings via hacking augmentations. A node's rating affects the speed at which the network can process it. Therefore, higher-rated nodes will slow the network down. You can slow it down further by fortifying nodes, which will increase their effective rating. You can also use a slow worm to stop the trace process entirely for a few seconds. Finally, to prevent detection when taking over nodes, you can use the nuke virus, which gives you a 0% detection chance. The nuke and stop programs are expendable viruses. Their supplies are limited, so use them wisely. A counter in the top right corner of the screen helps you keep track of them. When hacking, there are 3 types of nodes to capture. Directories are meaningless data holders. They serve no purpose other than to allow you to travel to your destination. APIs are system functions that can be used against the network. They can slow it down by spamming it, or they can lower node ratings to make them easier for you to capture. Data stores contain valuable information that can result in money, programs, or even experience points. Any reward you find on the system will only be yours if you succeed in hacking it. Otherwise, rewards cannot be downloaded and will remain on the system. Aside from cameras and doors, you will not be able to shut down any security device until you get the right augmentation upgrade.
So now we're facing one of the air vents of the game. Actually, the air
One of
vents...
the biggest-
cleanest air vents in the history of games.
Yeah, the air vents are definitely the cleanest air vents in the history of games. That's true. And also, this was probably one of the biggest challenges
with the lockers.
with the lockers of the entire game of Deus Ex Human Revolution. Like, you would think it would be like AI or hacking or how to make like a story as complex as the one that Mary pulled off or whatever, but no.
No, the air vents.
It was the air vents doors.
And they had to be perfect because they're all over the place.
All over the place. The thing is that when you design something like that, and there's a door that needs to open, and you want to make sure that, and especially the air vents, because we would hide them so much, like put crates in front of them or put all sorts of crap in front of them. The way that they open, you want to make sure that it's not going to obstruct these things or obstruct AI or whatever. But at the same time, wanting it to open in a fairly credible way, you know. So we had them that would kind of slide in a spaceship way, like on the side, like you know, like which was like whatever. And eventually, what happened is our lead, Philippe Desrosiers, our lead modeler, which is also has studied engineering and drafting, design, all sorts of things like that. So he's really competent with mechanisms and figuring out how things work. and it might seem very simple when you look at it in the game, and it's like, yeah, this is what should have been done from the beginning, but it's not always that easy and that obvious. But he ended up thinking about just these hinges that are just kind of pushing the hatch forward and then bringing it upward, and it was that simple.
And that's the final solution. But when you look at how it was made in games before that, like it just opens in a very kind of like a door, but a trap door.
Yeah.
But the thing is that we could have done that, but we had physical objects, you have the characters, and you always have to think,
AI.
Exactly. You always have to think about if the player's going to get stuck, if it's going to damage the experience and whatnot, and sometimes trivial things become really important things that we need.
And I remember when he made that thing, like how happy I was just for a freaking hatch.
We were all happy.
We were just like, oh my god, this is insane. It's like we almost went out for a beer or something.
Here, another cutscene where Jensen's going to interact with a potential enemy, and I remember having discussion with Jesse Sweet, our cinematic director, back in the day, because the constraint I gave him is that I didn't want Jensen in any cutscene with a gun, because we don't know what the player's going to have. And for me, it was really important that the cutscenes were keeping the character that you were building consistent with when we were going into those moments. So for him, it was a real challenge to still have Jensen look badass, and then but not using a gun. And that's why in this one we see with the hacker is that Jensen pulls out his blade from his arm. So it was a way to compensate for the lack of gun.
Adam, it's David. You got the Typhoon?
Yeah, but you were right about there being something more behind this. Because I've also got a dead purist in here with some pretty interesting cerebral implants.
Don't touch him. We'll need an expert to recover his neural hub, in case it's booby-trapped.
Copy that. What about Sanders?
SWAT's pressure me to let them off the leash. Find them before they do, and deal with them.
So here in manufacturing plant, we get close to the bridge where we have the police forces that are fighting the Purity First.
Storming the plant.
Terrorists, they are storming the plant. And I wanted so badly to have this piece of show don't tell where now that the police are pressuring in the facility and everything, but with playtest we saw that most players never really saw what was happening. Like it was too
it was under their feet.
Exactly.
So a lot of ideas during level design itself. We wanted to have windows. We wanted to show how do we showcase this type of event. But this event was only on paper, so it was very hard to actually make sure that every single player was seeing it. And the whole AI versus AI came very late. Right, Pat?
Yeah, like the AI programmer will probably have a different story to that, but you needed to have a faction system when you need to turn like enemies or NPC, they were neutral and they have to know who they are neutral to and who they can attack. So by having like Jensen like taking control of a turret and say this turret now attacks the enemy has to know who is now like used to be his friend, the turret was a friend, now it becomes an enemy. So we had
Sounds like Facebook.
Yeah, so we had that system, and this is the beauty with Deus Ex, where we built systemic features, and then the AI could fight against each other, even if we didn't put too much love. I think it came at a cost of a low cost, but the production might not be impressive like we wish, like you wish.
One of the concerns as well is that we didn't want to have the player interact with those guys. We really wanted to have AI versus AI and leave them independent. So just because of that, we had to make sure the player was enclosed in a very safe environment. Thus, the infamous corridor with the glass
with the glass floor that no woman is ever going to want to walk over.
Why?
Factory workers have been taken hostage, and the entire city holds its collective breath. I doubt I need to remind you folks that this is the second time the biotechnology firm has been attacked. The first time, 6 months ago, on the eve of controversial hearings set to scrutinize the company's research. With those hearings permanently on hold, many are now wondering if something else may be going on. Is David Seraph hiding something? For tonight, this is Eliza Cassan reporting to you live from Picus. Back now to that breaking news coming out of Detroit. Police are still not saying much about the situation, but sources tell me that a militant group of pro-human activists have raided the Seraph.